Hey Zoe, thank you so much for being with me on the Purposeful Mindset podcast. I'm super grateful to have you on the show, and I'm genuinely really curious to know your top 5 life lessons, because I know we connected very randomly through LinkedIn. Well, I say randomly, but I connect with people on there, which I feel like they have some similarities with me. They're on kind of a similar self-development journey or some kind of a coaching journey. And I love connecting with people like that because I know, number one, they're open-minded. And I know, number two, that they're going to have some kind of life experience similar to myself. So I want all my listeners to get as much value as they can from that. So the show is yours, Zoe, because as you know, on my podcast, you listen to a couple of the last few.
Yeah.
I just get straight to the point, and I just want to hear from you. And what are your top 5 life lessons that you've learned so far through your life, your journey, your business, everything? I'm going to shut up. I just want to listen.
Okay. Well, I'll jump straight in then. There's so much, isn't there? I'm when you get to a certain age, there's a lot of life experience that gets piled into that. And I would definitely say from my life experiences, I've crammed an awful lot into the years that I've already had. So now I'm just trying to ease off a little bit and enjoy them because I've crammed it all in my 20s and 30s. So I have 5, and they are kind of all interlinked, and I will reference why some of them are really important. These are not in any particular order. So the first one is that nothing will happen until you take the first step. And I think that's, for me, it's a lot of what comes up with people who I work with now. But ultimately, for me, I was very stuck, mentally, physically, not very well at all. And I stayed in that place for quite a long time. Change just felt impossible. It just felt like too hard to do. But when I was ready to take that first step, literally everything just kind of unraveled, and life got amazing. Not like immediately, those first couple of months were really, really tough. But if I look back now and I think of all of the amazing things that happened, if I hadn't have taken that first step, I could still very easily be in the situation that I was in. So that's definitely my first one. And I think a lot of people assume or think that first step has to be really big, and it doesn't. It really doesn't need to be big. You can take lots of, that first step could be a really, really small step of change that starts you in that right direction. But I think that for me is, what's your first step going to be? What does it need to be? What does that look like? And then get excited about that first step. Scary, but excited.
I love
and
that.
So that probably goes into the second one. They're a little bit linked in that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Definitely. So life doesn't, I know that's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? Especially in the coaching world, of life doesn't happen in the comfort zone. And I think that's very, very true. Somebody said that to me. So when I was training for Strong Woman, so I was training for a competition, and I was training for the Atlas stones. So the big cement stones that you pick up off the floor and you have to land on the platform. And it's quite often the last event, and so it's a bit of a showstopper in the strongman world. But it's an event that requires not just the mental strength, but it's a complete physical, upper body, lower body, it uses every muscle in the body, and it's a tough event. And I remember picking the stone up, and it was on my chest. So literally you hold your breath because it sits on your lungs, and couldn't breathe, and was really fighting on it to get it onto this platform. And the guys who I were training with, the guys that I was training with at the time said, Zoe, you've got to get used to being uncomfortable. This sport is about pain. It's about discomfort. It's about all of these things that, and I was having a bit of a moan about them. I will put my hands up. I was having a bit of a whinge, and they said, you've got to get comfortable with that feeling of pain and that feeling of discomfort if you're going to be good in this sport. And that, to me, that's what life is about, isn't it? It's about pushing through and not backing off when it starts to get uncomfortable, and pushing through and knowing, or even not knowing, what might happen next when you push through those mental and physical barriers, I guess. So they kind of come in together.
They do kind of link together. I get that, because you got to first take that step, which is very uncomfortable. As you said, the second
Mhm.
one is about comfort. And so I honestly believe the same thing. I mean, if I didn't take the step over 6 years ago to overcome my shyness, my introverted personality, then I wouldn't
Yeah.
be this super confident, crazy guy that everybody knows today. Because
Yeah.
honestly, Zoe, people think that I'm just on drugs. Genuinely, they're like, "Are you on? You always so happy and positive and crazy and have so much energy?" And I'm like, "Well, over 6 years ago, I just took the step, which for me was just a mindset shift. It
Mhm.
was literally just a decision. It wasn't even anything physical. It was just in my head. I made the decision myself that life sucks when you're not confident. You know, when you don't have friends,
Yeah.
when you don't have some kind of influence, when you want to do something more with your life but you feel stuck. And that kind of links very nicely into to get out of the comfort zone. You've got to
Yeah.
take that first step,
Yeah.
and if you don't, then you'll always be just feeling stuck, right?
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that people, when we're not happy, it's uncomfortable. But to get to a place where we feel happy and we feel fulfilled, we have to go through a different level of uncomfortable. But I think the difference is it's an unfamiliar uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So we get very comfortable in our uncomfortable, unhappy state. And so we have to push through that to find that happiness and that fulfillment. And so I think it's that pushing through that next, but it's a very different type, isn't it? It's the unknown, the uncertainty, and that's the challenge for a lot of people to push through. But yeah, I think they are those two for me linking. But definitely that first step, and it isn't going to be comfortable, but when you get used to that uncomfortable feeling and just get used to that nervous feeling, or that
yeah,
feeling of, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here, oh, why did I agree to this, and
yeah,
then just rolling with it, rolling with that nervousness and excitement too, I guess. So
yeah. I was just about to add that actually, Zoe, because one of my mentors once taught me, shift the word, or whenever you have this feeling of nervousness, instead
mhm.
of instead of saying to your mind or allowing your mind to think that it is a state of nervousness, switch it up and just, instead of saying I'm nervous, say I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is an exciting feeling. I can't wait to grow and come out of this comfort place that I'm stuck in right now. And so
Yeah.
just switch up the word nervous with excited, and it really does, inside our mind psychologically, really switches up something up there where it makes us consciously believe that we're not actually scared. We can do it. We suddenly feel confident. We suddenly feel a bit
Mhm.
excited to just take the leap.
Yeah. The physiological response is exactly the same, isn't it? The only difference is the internal conversation. What's going on up
Yeah.
here is the main difference. So
Procrastination monkey that Tim Urban talks about in
yeah,
his TED talk
yeah,
is so
absolutely.
powerful.
Cool. So the third one, actually, you already hinted at. So the third one for me is finding a positive in every situation.
Nice.
And it's
Definitely.
something that um, I I fight really hard for, and so I think even if it's a learning, there's always a positive. There's always a positive to be found, and I think for me, even through my life experiences, both personally and professionally, even through like the most challenging times, there are positives in there. And we're very good at, and we remember maybe the uncomfortable times, the painful times, the times that hurt us, but that's when we've probably grown, that's when we've evolved, that's where we've learnt, that's where we've pushed through. And so I think that for me is even if it's just on a daily basis. I think, and I know one of your other guests talked about the morning gratitudes
Mm,
and having that positivity, at the end of the day, thinking about what's gone well in the day, because it's easy, isn't it, to sit at the end of the day and mull over all of the things that didn't go so well. But not many people sit at the end of the day and go, oh, okay, this went well today. And I think sometimes it is, the positive is just that you've learned something. Either you've learned something about yourself, or you've learned something about maybe it's how not to do it next time. That might be the
exactly.
learning. But
Yeah.
there are positives in there, and I think that's something I work really hard to do, is try and reframe and look for the positives, look for the learnings, and then might not be able to do anything about it this time, but I will know, and I will go into the next situation with a different way of approaching things.
Yeah, I think perspective for me, the one word that keeps coming into my head while you're talking about that positivity, and to continue to strive to find the positive in the bad situations or the challenges
Yeah.
in life, it's just perspective. You know, we all have a different way of looking at things in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we focus on just perspective of how can I improve the situation next time, instead of what I sucked at or what I did bad or what I messed up on. Like, people are confused about mistakes and failure. They think they're bad
Yeah.
things. We've been taught by society that mistakes and failures are bad things, but in reality they're not. They're actually the
Mm,
only two things that we have to do to get to the next level. True,
yeah,
right? That's the perspective bit of it.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's probably one of my favorite bits about coaching is helping the people who I work with to explore different perspectives, explore different
Yep,
options, and how that might feel different for them when they see it in a different way. And yeah, I think perspective is so incredibly important, and not just from our own personal different perspectives, but being able to see the world from perspectives of other people as well is
definitely, yeah,
very important. So
for sure. I love that.
okay,
Awesome. I love it.
3 down, 2 to
Three
go.
to go.
Okay, so next one. So I quite often talk about, uh, it sounds something that you would hear performance coaches say, but I talk about putting 100% into everything, because you get out what you put in. And I think that applies to lots of things of life in general, but just, you know, a job that you're going for, spending time with people. So for me, it's right down to that, being present and being present with who you're with. So giving 100% to the situation that you're in, not multitasking and juggling distractions and things like that, but giving 100% to the people that you're with, giving 100% to the task that you're doing, giving 100% to life. You know, I think it's like right down from that sort of very granular detail right through to giving 100% to the things that you want to do in life, and not kind of, I want to use the word bumble. I'm not even sure that is
Which
actually the word,
perspective, Bumble?
bumble along, bimble along, bumble along. I'm not quite sure, but it's, you know, you see a lot of people just kind of the day to day. To me, that's almost like survival mode of,
Yeah,
you know, not really thinking about things, not really making decisions, waiting for life to make decisions for them, and just kind of just,
going
yeah,
with the
that,
flow, right?
yeah, which, yeah, when you're going with the flow with purpose, there's very different to
Different,
kind
yeah.
of the, you know, living at calls where you're waiting for life to make its decisions and decide what you're going to do. So yeah, for me, the giving 100% into everything, being mindful, purposeful, being present, you know, just being there and giving it 100%. And you know, from the reason why this is in here is, you know, when I'm talking about my story, you know, I gave the sport of strongwoman 100% and ended up competing at a high level. I gave my job 100% and ended up with, you know, promotions and getting to the top of the business I was in. So I think it's, for me, it's played out in lots of different areas, and now it's 100% in a different direction, but
Yeah.
that return on the investment is huge. So yeah, that was my fourth one, is 100%, but not necessarily in terms of like that performance, you know, got to give it 100%. You got to work 23 hours of the day, and you know, you'll sleep when you're dead, and
Nah,
no rest
the
days.
hustle,
Not that
hustle,
kind of
hustle,
100%.
hustle, grind life. No,
No, not that element. It's more the purposeful, mindful, being present 100%.
I agree with you. And you know why I love what you just said? Because, well, number one, you mentioned the name of the podcast is the purposeful mindset, right? It's actually having
Absolutely.
purpose in your mind to live more present, to live more mindfully in
Mm-hmm.
your life. And number two, when you, like, the one thing that comes to my mind when you were sharing about that is those people that I've met on my journey who always talk about the law of attraction and affirmations, which I love, by the way. I just hate the people that are so obsessed with it, but they don't do anything about it. Like, they would
No
write
action.
all the affirmations down till the cow come home. Like, they will
Mm-hmm.
write all the affirmations. I am strong. I am confident. I am amazing. I am gonna make it big. I'm gonna be a millionaire. And they write all of these things down, which we must, and it's important, of course. They're your goals. They're your dreams. They're what make you feel confident. However, if you don't go and take action on the law of attraction, nothing
Yeah.
happens. There is
Yeah.
no reaction. You know, like, that's what Tony Robbins says, right? You can't expect to just say things and just expect magically systems going to appear in your mind. In your mind, you know, this is not Aladdin, right? Life is not Aladdin. There's no genie. There's no, you don't just rub the little what's it called? Um, you know what I
Oh,
mean, right?
you want the lamp and the
The
genie with
lamp.
the
That's
three
it. That was the word I
wishes.
was looking for.
Yeah.
There's no lamp in life. There's no magic lamp. Nobody gets
No,
three
but
wishes.
that's still an action, isn't it? Even if you still got to take an action to get the genie. So you can't just
100%.
sit there in front of the lamp and go, I'm waiting. You still got to take
You
action.
gotta rub it. That's the action, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like I always give that analogy of like one of my mentors taught me of like a supercar. Imagine like a Ferrari. You can sit in the most beautiful car in the world, but if there is no fuel in the car, it is not gonna go anywhere. And so that's kind of in perspective of what you're sharing is about being really present in the moment, being mindful, but also taking that first step, as you said, as your first life lesson, to take the first step, to take action in your life, to be consistent, to have discipline, and to add all of these kind of ingredients together to actually have this purposeful mindset, right? And live more with purpose.
100%.
Love it. This is getting more and more like juicier and deeper as we go on to the last one. So I mean, I'm
Right.
curious
So
to know.
the last one is know your values, your needs, and your purpose.
Nice.
Now that's in there. It's in there because it comes up a lot in what I do. And the reason it comes up a lot in what I do is because it's that golden thread that is what makes us who we are. It's when we know what those are, we make decisions based on what those are, and we get that life that we're looking for. But I know from my own experiences, I know what it's like. I remember very clearly what it's like when you don't live in alignment with those, when you don't live in alignment with your values, when your needs are not met, and when you don't have a life of purpose. So I know what that's like. So I know how important it is. But I think also, in this kind of work, helping people to work out what it is for them is such an amazing part of being part of that for somebody else. But I think it's just so many people, they might know what their core values are, but you ask people when they last sat down and really thought about, what are my values? What are my psychological, physiological, emotional needs? How do I meet those? Who helps me to meet those? What do I do in life that helps me to meet those? What's my purpose in life? How am I living? How am I working towards that purpose? Not a lot of people do that.
You're right.
We probably are in more contact with people who do because of the people we connect with. But there's a lot, I've sat with, a group recently, and, they're 30s, 40s, 50s, and this is the first time they've ever sat down. They're like, I need to do this with my children. I'm like, absolutely. Yep. Go through and sit down, because even with young people in schools, we sit there and the focus is on what career are you going to have.
Yep.
But there's children in school right now that are going to go into careers that don't exist yet. They're going to go into jobs that don't exist yet. So if we were to take that down a level and help them to work out who they are, what's important to them, what life of purpose do they want to go out and do, what do they want to, who do they want to be as a person, what do they want to achieve? If we can help them work that bit out, helping them to find that direction for a career becomes much easier because they know what's important to them. But we don't do that. So that's my last one, is know what your values are, because that helps inform the decisions that you make. It helps you to be in control of the life and the direction that life takes, rather than allowing other people or situations to make those decisions for you.
So powerful. And one word that kept coming to my mind, it was just there at the front of my head right now as you were talking about, that was the word dream. Because I remember I went to an event once a couple of years ago, and in that event there was a lot of people surprised when, for the first, and these were like adults, right? Like you said, there were probably people in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s. It was a mixed event. And I remember, the host was like, all right, we're going to go through a process. We're going to do a little process now. It's going to be a little weird for some of you. A lot of you guys in the room are going to find tension, and you're going to try to be defensive about this. but we are going to do this process because you came to this room, to this event today for a reason. And so we are going to go through this process, and this process is going to it's going to be around this one specific thing that most of you in the room have never ever probably have done since you were a little kid. And it was the process of literally asking all of us a question, of going around the whole room and asking that person, or every single person in the room had to share, what is your dream? Like, what actually is your dream? Do you know the one that you used to have as a kid, the real dream, not the one that your parents told you about, that instilled in you as you grew up, you know, not the one that your friends have told you, this, you're really good at this, you should go and do this in your life, not the external dreams that other people have put inside of your heart. What is your dream? Like the one that you truly wanted to do as a kid. Like for me, on my TED talk, I shared about how when I was a kid, I used to love Action Man. And Action Man was my hero. It was my Superman in my world as I was growing up. But I knew after I grew up, I can never be Action Man. You know, I can never be any kind of a superhero. But today, I genuinely believe that I am a superhero for a lot of my friends, because I am genuinely the Action Man of their life. I'm the one who they see take so much action in my life, and truly live with purpose, and always kind, and always want to give value and help them from the bottom of my heart, because I just genuinely love it so much, of just finding fulfillment of helping someone, or sharing a little happy birthday message, or just sending someone some love and some positive light every day. Like for me, that question, even if you guys are listening right now still, like that question is so powerful, just to ask yourself, what is your dream, and write it down, and believe in it, and find the confidence to go after it by taking the one step, as Zoe was sharing earlier on, because that dream is the only thing that's going to lead you to purpose in life.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so yeah, that was the one thing that just came into my mind as you were sharing that. It's just
Yeah, it's an
reminded me.
important question. And I think a lot of us, even if we go back to the childhood dreams that we have, if you unpick what that was about, there's elements of probably in what you do now that were in that dream. It might not be the dream, but there are probably elements in it that were important to you that you're finding ways of doing now. But if you sit down and actually look at it and write it out and call it out and go, right, what is this? Why is this important to me? It's a much more purposeful decision, rather than something you find yourself in and just kind of happens because that's the type of person you are and the characteristics you have. And yeah, I think it's really important to, people should be living their dream. It is.
I think, Zoe, the problem is people just don't even write things anymore, right? They're just always typing, and they have the notes on their phone, and which don't get me wrong, I still have my notes on my phone when I want to quickly write down like a thought or an idea that I've had. But I still have my journal where, like, all my dream, every single year I would actually physically write down in my really fancy journal that I bought on purpose, because I was like, this is my book, right? This is my journal. This is all of my thoughts, and my goals and everything are in that book. And also my affirmations, my gratitude, my goals, my dreams, my vision, everything is in there. And when you write things down, it's actually scientifically proven that when you take a pen to paper, when the pen hits the paper, it sends like a signal straight to your brain, and it actually allows you to express more creativity from past ideas and thoughts on the specific things that you're about to write about. And so I found that process really powerful. But Zoe, a lot of people don't write things anymore. It's a shame.
Yeah, no, I think it's one thing that technology can't replace, that the brain to paper, but also for, when it's inside our brains, it's very hard for us to see it. So getting it down on paper, and as you can see with what's behind me, I
see all the post-it notes.
These are all my actions. And then the more sort of creative is over this side. But yeah, I'm a scribble pen and paper. I'm a very visual kind of.
Me too.
Visual person. So I talk through a lot of analogies and metaphors, but yeah, writing it down is incredibly powerful. But also it helps decompress and deload out of the brain and onto paper, can make a big difference, especially for overwhelm and anxiety too.
Definitely, yeah. So a lot of people that are listening to the podcast, they have a lot of them overthink a lot. They have anxiety.
Mm.
Some of them are going through really tough times now due to the lockdowns and just being secluded in their life and being stuck at home and stuff like that. So what's just, before I ask you the last question on the show, what's your one tip of someone that's feeling like that right now? What would you say if someone's feeling a little bit of anxiety or stress or some kind of a mental health challenge they're having, or negativity from someone in their life? What would be like your one actionable tip that you can give them to go on?
Ooh, just one. Wow. So I'm not. It's it's such an individual challenge, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think from an overwhelm, which was the first thing that you mentioned, so it's the first thing that popped into my mind. I encourage people to have 3 priorities a day. So for me, it's like two start and finish tasks, because it means you can cross them off the list, and then one task that's a smaller task that's part of a bigger activity that can make a big difference for overwhelm. Just being able to chunk things down, and just, so that's why I have post-it notes. These are all, yes, they're all smaller tasks of a bigger picture, but when I chunk it down, and I know that the stuff behind me is future tasks, the stuff I can see is this week, and that helps for me just separate what I need to focus on. So for me, the priority, somebody who's struggling with overwhelm, it's the priorities. What do I need to do today? And then everything else can wait. Even if you do 3 priorities a day over 7 days, that's still 21 things off your to-do list.
Yeah.
Helps with
True.
procrastination too, which you didn't mention, but I'll throw it in there anyway.
Awesome. No, that's powerful. I agree. I think genuinely, if people start even just doing the writing down things, I
Mm-hmm.
always encourage people when they're
Yeah,
going through those tough times, just write things down
yeah.
or express it
Journaling.
in their way, right? Because you said it's such an individual thing, which I also agree with. For example, when I'm angry or stressed out or just kind of frustrated at something in my life, my way of dealing with it is fitness. Like it's
Mm,
working out, it's going crazy in my workout
yeah,
that day and letting all my energy out that way, and frustration and anger, so I can just sweat it all out of my body. But then some
yeah,
people can just sit there calm and write all those things down and let it out. So find the way that works for you, right?
yeah. You have to find what works for you to help you switch that state, for sure.
I love it. Zoe, we're coming up to the end of the show. So I always ask one last question at the end of
Okay.
at the end of my show. And this is basically a little bit more deeper, but I feel like you'll have a really good answer for this. So that imagine that we're at an event, okay,
Yeah.
and there are 90,000 people in the room,
Okay.
okay, and you are giving a speech. Imagine it's like a TED event, right? 90,000 people. Zoe is the speaker, okay. You gave an amazing speech about something that you're super passionate about. It could be um I don't know, how to live with more purpose, because that's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of what we talk about today. You're giving this amazing speech and all your experiences, and you shared your story, and everybody in the crowd is just like super excited to know how you will finish the evening. And right at the end, you are to leave them, these 90,000 people, you're to leave them with one sentence, just one sentence for them to just ponder on for the rest of their life, and that's gonna make you unique to the rest of the events that they've ever been to. What would that one sentence be?
Ooh, how long can the sentence be?
It can be as long as you like, but it has to be one
Okay.
sentence.
Okay. So if I say it really quickly, does that count? So
You
I
can
think
say it
the
however you want to say it,
question,
Zoe.
I think I would leave them with a question to get them thinking. So I think my question would be, and maybe it's a two-parter, but if you carry on in the same direction at the same pace, where will you be in 12 months' time? I think that's always a great question to get people to think ahead. Are they doing, if you think about the things that I've talked about, the steps, are they in the right direction? Are you moving in the pace, at the right pace and in the right direction of where you want to be in 12 months' time? And my question would be, are you working towards the tomorrow that you want, as well as focusing on your today? Because that for me is the balance of focusing forward, focusing on moving towards where you want to get to, but still learning to love and appreciate and be grateful for where you are in the here and now.
I
That
love
was a
that.
very long sentence. Obviously it would be more succinct and much more practiced and rehearsed.
Of course, yeah, for sure. Those events are very just like, a lot of people are very like kind of scripted, or they're like practice so much. I
Yeah,
remember when I did my
I'm naturally a waffler, so
I
they're
think I'm
they're
the
long
same, though.
sentences.
It's fine. I think us coaches are like that, right? We're just very, when we get passionate about something, especially, we can waffle on for the rest
Oh
of it.
yeah,
But it's just genuinely out of love and passion, and because we really care, right? We really care. We really
yeah,
are
absolutely.
empathetic people that
Hmm.
genuinely want to help people and feel their pain and their struggles. And we know through our life experience that we can help someone the way, like, I know that I'm so confident I can change someone who's super shy and make them as confident as me. It will take time, of course, but I know I can do it because I've done it when I was super shy. And if I can be this confident today, I know that it all happened from my personal growth and my mindset. So
Hmm.
me taking people shortcutting that journey will also help towards them overcoming that. And for you, the same thing. You rose from the ashes, as you like to say, from the Phoenix project
Yeah.
that you kind of based your whole coaching business around, which I really love, by the way. And yeah, so all of those challenges that you faced, so confidently, right, Zoe, that you can really impact someone's life and change it
Hmm.
because you've been through what they're going through. So that's really, really powerful. But Zoe, I just want to say a massive thank you for just sharing
Thanks
your
for having me.
wisdom, sharing your life lessons. Where can everybody go and, like, reach out to you, ask you a question if they want to find out about your coaching, or just in general want to ask you something because they've learned something new and they want to reach out to you? Which platforms do you live in the most, and where they can reach you?
So I'm on all of the social media platforms. The website is phoenixlifecoach.co.uk, and you can ask questions on the website or book in a free call. So I'm pretty accessible and more than happy to answer questions and chat to people. So yeah, the people are more than welcome to get in touch.
Awesome. And I encourage you guys, go and send Zoe a message. If you're struggling with something in your life right now, go and reach out to her. Just ask a question. You guys, I always tell you every week that if you don't ask, you don't get. If I didn't ask Zoe, because Zoe was a stranger to me. Let's be real. Zoe was a stranger. We met on LinkedIn and, we had a conversation. There was no sales pitch. There was no salesy thing. It was genuine conversation. I just asked if she was struggling with anything and if I can help or be in service. And that's how we got connected. And basically, if I didn't ask Zoe, can she be on the podcast? Because I looked through her bio and it looks like she's been through some really amazing journey so far in her life and business. So I wanted her to come and share her lessons with you guys. If I didn't ask her, she wouldn't have said yes. And even if she said no, at least I asked, right? So if you
Yeah,
guys don't go and ask Zoe a question, then you'll never know the answer to that thing in your head right now that you're struggling with. So Zoe, I'm going to leave all your links and everything under the YouTube video, under all
brilliant.
the
Thank
podcast
you.
platforms, so everybody can go reach out to you. But one last thing that you can just share for them to go and take action on today.
Oh, I just make sure that you're living the life that you want to live. I think just make sure you know what you want that to be and make sure that it's the life that you want and that is your purpose, your values, your needs.
Awesome. Love it. Well, once again, Zoe, thank you so much for being with
Thank
me on the
you.
show. And I'm so grateful to keep in touch. And if I can ever be of service to you, please let me know because I would love to help you on your journey as well. And let's keep
Okay.
in touch and speak soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.